everyone. This is my Pecha Kucha for what I've been working on throughout the semester. For those of you that may not have watched my initial DA crit number 2, the programs I focused on were HTML, CSS, JQuery, Adobe Illustrator, and Flipped Classroom. For Adobe Illustrator, the first assignment was to recreate the image of the checkmark. After watching the tutorials in LinkedIn Learning, some discussion with other classmates, and a lot of trial and error, I was able to come up with my recreation of the checkmark as shown here. The next challenge was to create a logo for our class, Design Studio 550. I started with a few rough hand-drawn sketches, then tried my hand at creating the logo through Adobe Illustrator. Initially, I was using the drawing tool and came up with the prototypes as shown. I was disappointed with the outcome of my light bulb, so I turned to YouTube for guidance. I was able to find a tutorial of someone creating a light bulb. As you can see earlier, I wanted the light bulb to have color, but after watching the YouTube video, I decided to make the background of the logo one color and the light bulb to be white. The final project for Adobe Illustrator was to create an infographic. I created an infographic about gaining financial freedom. The infographic is larger in size, so I'm going to break it up in the following slides so you can get a closer look at the information on this infographic. The part of the infographic is giving stats about the current consumer debt amongst Americans. I wanted to make this visually appealing so you can see the use of bold, interesting fonts, limiting the amount of colors on the infographic, and using patterns in various shades of gray to define certain aspects of the information. The second part of the infographic has information about someone that can create a monthly budget for themselves, including suggested percentages, the formula they can use to figure out the dollar amount, and other ways they can try and pay down their debts. Overall, I'm very pleased with the outcome of this infographic. Flipped Classroom was something I wanted to incorporate in my design project because it's a great way for students to take charge of their own learning and not have to rely on a teacher to provide a lecture to learn a new concept. Flipped classrooms can either start at home and follow it up with school, or they can be incorporated right in the classroom lesson. I created my flipped classroom around the same concept as the YouTube video we were provided called In Class Flip by Jennifer Gonzalez. The concept is that you can have various stations, and one station would be the new content the students are learning. Then they move from station to station while the teacher scaffolds. For the new content my learners would be reviewing, I created short videos through a site called EdPuzzle. EdPuzzle can be used to screen capture content and allows you to put quiz questions throughout the video to check for understanding. I created mine with visuals and transitions through Google Slides. In this video I made, the students can choose which amounts they believed need to be budgeted based on the information they have just learned. The learner can also get immediate feedback if you have multiple choice questions. If you keep the questions open-ended, they will not receive immediate feedback, which may leave the student questioning if they understood the information. I am basing my flipped classroom on 8 students paired in sets of 2. There will be 6 stations, and each station will be utilized for about 10 minutes. Then we switch to the next station. While stations are happening, the instructor will walk around the room assisting students where necessary. Station 1 is going to be the video of the new content, creating a monthly budget. Station 2 is practicing creating a mock budget. This will not be assigned for the first round as students do not know the concept yet. 3 would be sorting essential spending versus non-essential spending. 4, creating cash envelopes. 5, balancing a checkbook. And 6, reflective writing. The last design project was learning HTML, CSS, and JQuery. I wanted to learn about this because I wanted to create a site where my learners could find all of their learning content and scheduled assignments in one place, similar to an LMS. I wanted this to eventually hold my infographic I created, as well as the videos I created for the flipped classroom. Initially, I started with a template in Dreamweaver, then borrowed a format from a website that I liked for the heading piece. I liked the access to the social media at the top and the colors of the page. The font that came with the initial CSS code, or the part that makes it look pretty, was not appealing to me, so I changed that within the code. The heading bar navigates to different areas of the site. I initially coded the pages to pop up on their own separate pages, but ended up deciding to keep them all within the site. That way it looked seamless and clean. The only one I had trouble making look the same was the ordering assessment, and I had to create a link to separately navigate back to the main page. The jQuery piece was probably the hardest piece of this assignment for me to understand. I eventually had to go to the web to figure out a code for the two things I required, an accordion and a draggable feature. The accordion was fairly easy to create. The draggable box I had initially was very plain and did not have much purpose. After our DA Crit 5, I noticed that our classmate Julie had an amazing draggable, so I reached out to her for support about how she was able to create her code. With her help, I was able to create an assignment where students would need to place Dave Ramsey's baby steps in order, dragging it from the mixed order on the left-hand side to the correct order on the right-hand side. After the site was created, I was able to add my assignments to the course outline with the accordion, my flipped classroom and EdPuzzles under the bank and budget sections, and my infographic under the budget section of my page. I was also able to create a blank check using Adobe Illustrator for practice under the bank section of my page. This site is something I could definitely grow, having the opportunity to produce more content that can be easily updated as information changes. I included the link to my page in the description box below if you were interested in checking it out on your own. Thank you for taking the time to review my work over the past semester.